Hello, and welcome back to the X-Hub. Out of all the things unknown in this world, time travel has to be one that fascinates the most. Sure, one needs to be a believer of some kind to take any of this seriously, but some of the stories you're about to hear now will really get you thinking and ask questions nobody has the answers to. Is time travel for real? Well, these people seem to believe so. Here are 7 of the most interesting mysteries when it comes to time travel. Number 1. Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard accidentally entered a parallel universe. J.H. Brennan's book, Time Travel: A New Perspective, recounts the story of Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard, who accidentally flew into a parallel universe in 1935. During the inspection of an inactive airbase in Drem, Scotland, Sir Goddard found it in poor condition. While attempting to fly back to the airbase due to inclement weather, he witnessed an abrupt shift from torrential rain to bright sunshine and saw that the airbase was in perfect condition and operational. 4 years later, Sir Goddard visited Drem and saw the exact same scene. He even spotted mechanics wearing blue overalls working on the yellow planes parked on the runway. The planes weren't the ones in use by the Air Force back then. In fact, Sir Goddard even failed to recognize one of them. Funny, because instant renovation of the place couldn't have been possible, and more importantly, these guys weren't even wearing the khaki-colored uniforms that were a norm then. Also, the Air Force painted all their planes in silver, not yellow. Completely baffled by what the hell was going on, Goddard got the shock of his life 4 years later. Europe was war-torn, and he happened to visit Drem again. But this time, he saw everything he saw 4 years back in 1935. The same people in blue overalls servicing yellow planes. Full deja vu moment. He even found the plane he couldn't recognize before, a Miles Magister. Did he fly 4 years into the future? Skeptics say that Goddard might have simply been confused about his location. But that's too simple an explanation. Also, could an acclaimed officer like him make such an elementary mistake? Sir Goddard passed away in 1987, so I guess we'll never have an answer. Number 2. LC's drive back in the past. In 1988, a man named LC and his associate saw a vintage car in perfect condition with an orange license plate from 1940 being driven by a woman and a child dressed in clothing from the era. The woman appeared distressed but didn't speak to them. When they pulled over and looked back, the car had vanished. As soon as they looked behind, the vehicle was gone. Poof, vanished into thin air. This was a highway without any traffic, so disappearing like this was quite impossible. Shocked and not knowing how to describe what had just happened, Elsie and Bob decided to keep driving on. A little while later, while they were still on Highway 167, they saw another new car passing by, a very old car at a slow speed. It was so slow that it looked like the cars had come to a halt. As soon as the new car pulled over in front of the car, the same thing happened. It stopped and then suddenly disappeared. They couldn't believe their eyes. Could she have been a time traveler from the past who went forward in time? Or could she have been a person from the past who could never go back, stuck in limbo? One can never tell with certainty. Number 3. The news broke 11 years before it actually happened. This spine-chilling story was a part of the book The Little Giant Book of Eerie Thrills and Unspeakable Chills, written by Ron Edwards, C.B. Colby, John Macklin. According to the authors, back in 1932, a newspaper reporter and a photographer were sent to do a feature story on the Hamburg shipyard in Germany. After completing their assignment, just as they were about to leave the premises, they heard the sound of aircraft engines, only to look up and see the sky full of fighter planes. The anti-aircraft batteries opened fire and bombs started going off. All of a sudden, this place had become a war zone. Things were exploding, buildings were collapsing, there was death and chaos everywhere. Before rushing out to save their lives, they even asked a security guard if there was something they could do to help out, but were asked to immediately leave the area instead. As the two drove into Hamburg, things changed. The sky cleared up, and everything was back to being normal. There was no blood or violence. Buildings were fine. No one seemed to panic. It was as if nothing had happened. When they looked behind towards the shipyard, they couldn't spot anything wrong with it. No damage, no smoke coming from the buildings. Shocking. The newspaper office obviously did not believe the two. Even the pictures taken during the attack showed everything to be normal. In the end, their colleagues dismissed their claim by deciding that they must have stopped on their way for a drink, and it was the alcohol making them see things. Later on, one of them moved to London just before the Second World War began. In 1943, what he read in a newspaper one morning almost made his heart stop. It was a story about a successful raid by a Royal Air Force squadron on the Hamburg shipyard. This was an exact representation of what he and Brandt witnessed 11 years back. How? Could they have experienced a time travel manifestation? What do you think? Could all this be true? Let us know in the comment section below. Number 4. The Man Who Met Himself. On the 30th of August in 2006, 36-year-old Håkan Nordqvist came back home to find his kitchen flooded with water. Thinking it's nothing more than a leak, he crawled under the sink to fix the problem. But when he crawled inside the cabinet, he noticed that it just continued. So he kept crawling further until he stopped right at the end of the tunnel. When he got out, Nordqvist realized that he had landed up in the future, in 2042 in fact. And oddly enough, he even met himself in the future, an old 72-year-old self. Future Nordqvist wasn't very surprised to meet this guy. Over and above, he even told him things that only he could have known. They even had the same tattoo. Of course, the future guy's tattoo was a little more faded. They even took a selfie together. Interesting. Although, honestly, this one sounds more like an acid trip, but who are we to judge, right? Number 5. The Man Who Traveled Back in Time to Become a Wall Street Scam Artist. On the 28th of January, 2003, a certain Andrew Carlson was arrested and detained by the police for insider trading at Wall Street. Over a 2-week period in the stock market, Andrew went from having $800 to making, wait for this, $350 million. It's like whatever he invested in turned into gold. It's nearly impossible to make the kinds of profits he did. He was arrested by the cops on the allegation that he must have had illegal insider information. But when asked why and how he did this, the cops weren't really expecting what Andrew had to say. He claimed to be a man from the year 2256. Since he was from the future, he knew exactly how the stocks were going to perform. Obviously, the cops thought this guy was chatting utter rubbish. However, soon after he was released on bail, the man disappeared from the face of this earth. And even after repeated attempts, he couldn't be found. Was he telling the truth? Who knows, but get this. Carlson predicted the exact date of the US invasion in Iraq. Number 6. The Man from Tard. On a hot afternoon in July 1954, a French-speaking Caucasian man with a beard arrived at Haneda Airport in Tokyo. Upon presenting his passport for inspection, the Japanese immigration officials were perplexed to discover that the country of issuance, Tard, did not exist in real life. In one version, a man claimed to be from a country called Tard and showed his passport to prove it. He stated that Tard was located between France and Spain and had been there for around 1,000 years. He was bewildered when shown a map pointing to the area where Andorra is currently located. Immigration officers arrested him as a suspected criminal and placed him in a hotel room where he vanished without a trace the next day, along with all his documents. There were no signs of his escape. Even the documents he was carrying with him, which could have been used as evidence of this man's existence, disappeared as well. Could he have been a man from the future? Or, more interestingly, could he be living in a parallel universe where Andorra is known as Tard? Unfortunately, there's no way to tell. That's all for today. Thank you for watching the X Hub. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned to our channel. Are you thirsty for more? The best is yet to come.